Why would a fashion powerhouse like Valentino bet everything on a K-pop idol? What's really going on behind the velvet curtains of luxury fashion's latest obsession? This shocking twist will leave you speechless. Scroll, comment, like, and subscribe before everyone else finds out. Why would one of the world's most revered luxury fashion houses suddenly center its global spotlight on a South Korean rapper known more for his haunting lyrics than haute couture? What made Valentino, a name synonymous with classic Italian elegance and centuries-old craft, align with a K-pop idol whose music speaks of pain, struggle, and unapologetic honesty? You may think this is just another celebrity endorsement. You're wrong. In a surprising twist that rattled both fashion and entertainment industries, Valentino announced its unprecedented collaboration with BTS's SUGA, yoongi as known offstage, sparking questions, excitement, and skepticism. Was it a desperate reach for Gen Z attention, a calculated brand pivot, or something much deeper? As the velvet curtains drew back at Valentino's largest event of the year, a show swathed in secrecy held in an undisclosed Roman villa, later revealed through dramatic drone shots, it wasn't a runway model or film star who stole the attention. It was SUGA, not merely as a guest, but the headlining icon, dressed not in a borrowed suit, but a custom collection co-designed by Valentino's Pier Paolo Piccioli and yoongi himself. The silence before his appearance was deafening. The screams afterward, earth-shaking. Those who understand fashion know that this move isn't just about face value. Valentino, steeped in aristocratic history and known for its rich reds and timeless silhouettes, has never before aligned so intimately with a musical figure whose roots are grounded in rebellion. But it seems that's exactly what Pier Paolo wanted: rebellion with depth, elegance with grit. And yoongi brought all of that and more. This wasn't an easy path. Internally, insiders say the Valentino boardroom was split. Some feared tarnishing the brand's purity. Others feared being left behind. Yet Pier Paolo, known for his artistic instincts and philosophical approach to fashion, stood firm. He saw in yoongi not just a fashion muse, but a mirror to a changing world, a world that values authenticity more than aesthetic perfection. Yoongi didn't say yes immediately. In fact, sources close to the artist confirmed that he rejected 3 proposals before accepting this one. It wasn't about money. It was about integrity. "If I'm going to put my name on something, it has to mean something," he reportedly told his team. Valentino's commitment to meaningful artistry, emotional storytelling, and cultural inclusion won him over. And so began months of collaboration. Zoom meetings across time zones, fabric samples flown by private jet, late-night calls translating emotion into color palettes. When the campaign launched, it broke records within minutes. Hashtags trended globally. Pre-orders for the limited Valentino X SUGA collection crashed servers in 4 countries. And yet what caught people off guard wasn't the scale. It was the emotion. The video campaign, featuring SUGA walking through Rome, silent, reflective, as Piccioli narrates a letter to his younger self, had fans in tears. It wasn't selling fashion, it was telling a story. Who could have predicted that a kid from Daegu who once slept in a studio to save money would one day redefine European luxury? Or that a heritage brand would allow its image to be reshaped by a rapper who once questioned the meaning of life in his lyrics? This wasn't just bold marketing, it was a cultural moment. And still, questions linger. Was this a one-time spectacle, or the beginning of fashion's full surrender to K-pop's growing power? Does SUGA's involvement signal a new era where emotional intelligence and vulnerability redefine masculinity in fashion? The answers may not be immediate, but one thing is clear: the world watched, and it will never unsee what it saw. Fans have speculated if more is coming. Some spotted unreleased garments during behind-the-scenes shoots. A secret drop? An entire SUGA curated line? Nothing has been confirmed, yet. But the message is loud. Valentino isn't looking for relevance, it's looking for revolution. And SUGA is the perfect storm. What do you think? Is Valentino reshaping fashion for the better or risking too much on cultural waves? Is SUGA the new blueprint for what it means to be a man in high fashion? Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button if you were shocked, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because this story isn't over. Not by a long shot.
But beneath the applause, the Instagram hearts, and glowing headlines, a darker narrative started to brew, and not everyone was clapping. As soon as Valentino's collaboration with SUGA went viral, so did the backlash. Not just from purist fashion critics or die-hard BTS fans, but from within both industries. Whispers of controversy spiraled into public outrage in some circles. Why? Because this wasn't merely about fashion or fandom. This was about power, cultural power, identity, and who gets to control the narrative. Let's start with the fashion elite. Critics from legacy publications, some of whom hadn't even attended the show, accused Valentino of selling out. One European editor-in-chief anonymously told an Italian outlet that fashion houses are becoming influencers in search of relevance rather than architects of vision. Another went further, calling the partnership with SUGA cultural dilution, an accusation that set off a storm of outrage across Asian fashion communities. What these critics weren't ready for was the fierce response. Asian designers, editors, and even celebrities clapped back, accusing European fashion media of double standards, celebrating Western musicians like Harry Styles or Asak Aki when they step into couture, but raising eyebrows when an Asian artist does the same. Why is it seen as artistic evolution when it's a Western man in pearls and eyeliner, but called tokenism or marketing bait when it's SUGA, an Asian man, in a silk cape over leather pants? The backlash wasn't just external. Even within BTS's massive army fandom, cracks began to show. Some fans felt betrayed, not by Valentino, but by yoongi. The same yoongi who once rapped about capitalist greed and fame's emptiness was now seen wearing a $30,000 custom blazer while sipping champagne in the Italian countryside. Has he changed? Has he sold out? Trended on Korean forums for 3 days. Some fans even created threads dissecting the symbolism of his Valentino photos, claiming he looked trapped or too polished. But the real firestorm came from yoongi's own country. In South Korea, where national identity and cultural pride are sensitive topics, SUGA's global embrace of European luxury triggered a national debate. Conservative commentators accused him of abandoning Korean values and being too westernized. Others, however, pointed out the irony, how Korea celebrates K-pop's international reach, but criticizes its stars when they begin influencing global systems in return. This wasn't just about a fashion show anymore. This was about identity, assimilation, resistance. And yoongi? He said nothing. Not a single tweet, no Instagram captions, no apologies. Only a single cryptic Weverse post a week later, a photo of his hand sketching a design on a blank page, captioned, "Start again." That silence was deafening. Was it defiance? Reflection? Or was he just doing what he's always done, letting the work speak louder than the noise? Meanwhile, Valentino stood firm. In a rare move, Pierpaolo Piccioli issued a personal statement published through L'Officiel magazine. "We did not choose SUGA to exploit a trend. We chose him because he is the trend. Not fashion as a commodity, but fashion as soul, voice, and rebellion. If that is controversial, then fashion should be more controversial." And yet, despite the outrage, the numbers were undeniable. Valentino's quarterly earnings spiked. Search interest in the brand surged by over 320% globally. South Korean interest in Valentino went up 6-fold. Sales of gender-neutral items, especially from the SUGA capsule, sold out in hours. What the establishment called a mistake, the market declared a masterpiece. But still, controversy lingered. Rumors began to swirl about internal dissent within Valentino. An unnamed senior executive allegedly resigned quietly, disagreeing with the K-popification of the brand. A fake memo claiming the campaign was a vanity project leaked online, although Valentino denied its authenticity. Yet where there's smoke in fashion, there's often fire in the showroom. And then came the wildest twist yet. 2 months after the campaign launched, investigative fashion blog The Cutting Thread claimed that yoongi had in fact rejected LVMH before accepting Valentino. According to their anonymous sources, another major luxury conglomerate offered him a multi-year contract, double the Valentino deal, and co-ownership of a fragrance line. Why did he turn it down? Because, allegedly, they wanted him to change his hair, alter his image, and pose with a white female model to broaden the brand's global reach. Yoongi refused. The source claims his exact words were, "I don't wear clothes that silence me." If that's true, then this isn't just a fashion moment. It's a revolution in how fashion is done. SUGA, intentionally or not, has forced an entire industry to look at itself in the mirror. He's exposed the quiet racism, the unspoken gatekeeping, the commodification of Asian culture without ownership. And he's doing it not with anger, but with elegance, with silence, with presence. So here's the question we're all left with. Is Valentino's collaboration with SUGA a turning point, or just a temporary tremor before the system resets itself? Only time will tell. But for now, the world is watching, listening, and wondering just how far a boy from Daegu can go, not just in music, not just in fashion, but in rewriting the rules of culture. Tell us your thoughts. Was this partnership brave or blind? Did Valentino elevate SUGA, or did SUGA elevate Valentino? Are we witnessing change, or just another chapter in fashion's long history of using what it doesn't fully understand? Drop your take in the comments. Smash that like button if you think this story needs to be heard. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because if there's one thing we've learned from this saga, it's that SUGA never moves without shaking the world.
And just when the dust seemed ready to settle, a new wave of speculation rocked the industry, this time not from fashion insiders or K-pop stans, but from political circles. The unexpected intersection of fashion diplomacy and cultural soft power turned what was once seen as a bold branding move into a geopolitical flashpoint. It began subtly. A South Korean cultural envoy, speaking off the record, noted during a televised interview that SUGA's appointment as the face of Valentino represents more than fashion. It is Korea exporting its identity through symbols once exclusively Western. That one sentence set off a firestorm. Was this collaboration an unofficial form of cultural diplomacy? Did the South Korean government see SUGA's influence as a political asset on the world stage? Within days, newspapers across Seoul and Rome began publishing think pieces, some praising yoongi for breaking glass ceilings, others questioning the motives behind the move. Was Valentino leveraging Korean global pride, or was Korea strategically placing its icons within cultural institutions to shift the balance of influence between East and West? Meanwhile, conservative politicians in Italy voiced concerns that Valentino's deepening ties with Korean culture might dilute Italian heritage. One senator even introduced a bill proposing guidelines for luxury brands that align with foreign cultural representatives, arguing that traditional Italian aesthetics must be protected. Social media exploded in response. Hashtags like Keep Fashion Global and Italy Backwards trended across platforms. What began as a brand campaign was now a symbolic battleground for cultural legitimacy. SUGA still said nothing. And that silence, it only made his presence louder. In a world drowning in noise, his quiet defiance became revolutionary. Then came another twist. At Milan Fashion Week, a rival fashion house known for its elitism and traditionalism took a not-so-subtle jab. A model strutted down the runway holding a placard that read, "Art is not a trend." The fashion community gasped. Was this a direct attack on Valentino and its collaboration with SUGA? The timing, the messaging, and the context left little room for doubt. Valentino responded, but not with press releases or interviews. Instead, it released an untitled 90-second video on social media. Shot in black and white, it featured Yoongi walking through a dimly lit corridor lined with classical Roman statues, the sound of a ticking clock echoing in the background. No music, no branding, just one sentence whispered at the end. Art does not wait for permission. The message was clear. Valentino wasn't apologizing. SUGA wasn't backing down. And then, as if orchestrated by the universe itself, a leak. An internal Valentino memo, verified by multiple sources, surfaced online. The document outlined the strategic goals behind the SUGA partnership. It was raw, unfiltered, and shockingly self-aware. It read, "We do not seek to fit into the future. We seek to design it." SUGA represents not the trend of now, but the question of tomorrow. What happens when boundaries between street, soul, and society dissolve? He is the prototype of a new luxury, raw, real, global, and unapologetically human. The document also revealed something even more shocking. SUGA wasn't just a collaborator. He had been offered a creative director role, an actual seat at the design table. Not honorary, not symbolic, real power, real influence. No idol has ever held that kind of position in a European luxury house before. The reactions were seismic. Fashion forums debated whether this was a visionary move or reckless pandering. Some critics called it genius, others called it a dangerous precedent. If this works, one columnist wrote, the doors of couture could forever be open to voices that were never meant to walk those halls. But what about SUGA's own fans? For many, this revelation reframed the entire story. He wasn't just modeling clothes, he was helping design them. His artistry was being recognized not just as a gimmick, but as a guiding force. The anger that some fans had felt began to melt into pride. Tweets changed from, "He's sold out," to, "He's rewriting the game." Still, the storm wasn't over. Soon after the memo leaked, an old video from SUGA's pre-debut days resurfaced. In it, a young Min Yoongi spoke into a shaky camcorder. "I want to be remembered, not for being famous, but for creating something people didn't expect from someone like me." It was eerie, prophetic, and painfully beautiful. That clip went viral again. Millions of fans, fashion students, and young creatives across the globe reshared it with teary captions, because it wasn't just about SUGA anymore. It was about them, about every person who ever felt out of place, too quiet, too poor, too different, and yet still dreamed of creating something that mattered. Valentino saw this moment and doubled down. Instead of pulling back, it launched a global contest for young designers under the banner Design Without Borders. The campaign was led by SUGA, not just in name, but in mentorship. Aspiring creatives from underrepresented backgrounds were invited to submit sketches, concepts, even audio-visual fashion art. The top 3, they would join SUGA's new capsule collection next season. Just like that, a brand that once stood as a monument to exclusivity became a platform for access. But critics still question, is this all part of a brilliant marketing campaign, or is fashion truly changing at its core? Is the industry finally waking up to the global south, to new masculinities, to a generation that doesn't care where something is made, but why it was made and who it speaks for? Or is this all temporary, a flicker before the industry returns to its usual gatekeeping? As for SUGA, he remains elusive. No full interviews, no statements, just motion, creation, presence. And maybe that's the point. He isn't explaining, he's expressing. And in doing so, he's forcing everyone, critics, fans, fashion houses, even governments, to ask a simple, terrifying question. What happens when the outsider becomes the architect? What happens when the silence starts speaking, not with words, but with power? You tell us. Comment below. Are we witnessing the rebirth of fashion or just another mask worn by capitalism? Like this post if you believe fashion should include all stories, not just the inherited ones. And subscribe because this is far from over. In fact, the revolution may have only just begun.